Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to Cinematic Reviews presented by Quantum Podcasts. And as always, I will be your host, Chris, and this is, of course, the show about all things movies and TV. Well, we are going to wrap up Phase 3. Well, technically, not wrap it up. This is Avengers Endgame has been considered the finale of Phase 3, but we technically have one more film after this with Spider Man Far From Home. But a lot of Marvel fans consider Endgame kind of the conclusion to the Infinity Saga, which is what Marvel has labeled the first, I don't know, 10 to 12 years of the MCU from Iron Man 1 back in 2008 all the way up to Spider Man Far From Home, is what they call the Infinity Saga. But a lot of fans just consider Endgame as that cutting off point, and then Spider Man Far From Home is kind of that epilogue slash bridge into what would be WandaVision, the first project in phase 4. But here on the show, we are going to follow what Marvel intended, which is Spider Man Far From Home being the official conclusion to phase 3. So, with that, next week we will cap off phase 3 with Spider Man Far From Home. But today, we're ending this long storyline of the Infinity Stones with Avengers Endgame. If you remember, a couple weeks ago, we talked about Infinity War, which is where we left off with that massive, massive cliffhanger with the Avengers losing to Thanos as he snaps his fingers and eliminates half the universe so that the other half can thrive in his mind. Well, the Avengers can't seem to sleep with that notion, so they develop a plan to stop Thanos's end game and bring everybody back to life. Before we get into Endgame today, I'll be talking about a couple of reactions as well. One most recent uh, project that has come out the last week or so. Another one all the way back into early 2000s. So we're going to deep into the archives of our brains and talk about a show that I grew up watching and I grew up just loving the heck out of. And I just binged all 7 seasons of it today. So you could probably guess what I'm talking about in preparation for a couple of reunion episodes that will be coming out this weekend. So we'll get into that on today's news and reactions, and then we'll cap it all off like we always do on the show with all the rankings, with the villain scale, the popcorn rating, and the MCU ranking for Avengers Endgame. Before we get into all that, though, a couple of reminders at the top of the episode. You can watch the show every week at youtube.com/the cinematic reviews. You can also listen to the audio version on whichever podcast service you deem worthy. So go ahead and subscribe and follow to help support the show. It's been awesome the last 4 years doing this, and there's a lot more content planned for the show from Quantum Podcast. So check all those out as they come. Also, follow all the social media pages on X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. I post all the shorts from every episode, all the graphics from each episode, also with breaking news coming out of Hollywood. Lots of stuff gets posted on there, so go ahead and follow the show on social media and stay in the loop as well. Another big announcement that I talked about on the last episode, the Captain Marvel episode, is the Cinematic Reviews app will be launching on April 12th, this Sunday. Coming up this weekend, we'll be launching the Cinematic Reviews app, something that I've been wanting to do for a while with the show, and now it is coming to fruition and becoming a reality. You can download it on your favorite device, whichever app store that you use on your device. Go ahead and download that and play around with it on Sunday. No official time has been set yet for the launch day. It'll probably be somewhere early morning, mid-afternoon, probably on Sunday. So just keep checking the App Store. I'll post it on all the social media pages when the app actually goes live, and you guys can check it out. On launch day, you'll be able to look at hundreds of movies. You can review them like I do on the show with the popcorn rating. You can also leave a little comment or a little review of your own. You can also check out other people's reviews through the profile that you can set up, where you can show off your favorite actors, your favorite movies. You can show off your favorite genres, all sorts of things to check out on launch day. You can also play 2 of the trivia games that'll be available on launch day as well. More games will come, of course, as the app gets more expanded and more tuned. But on launch day, you'll be able to do 2 trivia games. One, your generic multiple choice trivia on whatever movie or show that it generates. You'll get 4 options to pick from to answer that question. The second game will be a quote challenge, where a movie or TV show quote will be appear to you, and you will type in what your guess is for which movie or TV show that quote is fun. So a lot of cool features coming on launch day, with more to come as the app expands and fine tunes by yours truly. So check it out on Sunday, April 12th. The Cinematic Reviews app will launch. So, with that, let's head over to news and reactions. So, the first reaction today in news and reactions is Malcolm in the Middle. If you haven't known, they are doing a 4-episode kind of reunion event on Hulu. Today, actually, is when it comes out. On Malcolm in the Middle, life still unfair, which I think it's like 20 years. In the getting up to the present day, just checking in with Hal, with Malcolm, with Reese and Dewey and Lois, and just seeing how they are and catching up with life and everything that has happened. Malcolm has a girlfriend and he has a daughter that he has kept away from the rest of the family, and they are now just discovering that Malcolm has a daughter. So they're kind of reuniting and getting to know their granddaughter and their niece as Malcolm gets pulled back into his crazy family. So it's going to be awesome. This is the original Malcolm show, premiered in 2000, and then it ended somewhere in 2006 with 7 seasons. It could have gone on for a couple more seasons, if you ask me. I really enjoyed this one, but I think they ended it at a good spot where Malcolm was graduating from high school. He was going to Harvard, and just ready to move on with his life. And it was a good way to kind of end the show after 7 seasons. One of the shows that I watched just on repeat as a kid, this and probably Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was another one that I would wake up every morning and just watch an episode before school. Malcolm in the Middle is one that my entire family absolutely loves, and we've seen this all the way through, multiple times. Well, I just binge watched it again, all 7 seasons, in preparation for this new reunion event that is happening on Hulu today, April 10th. So I'm very, very excited about it. I probably won't get to watch it until probably Saturday night with my whole family. But we are going to binge the crap out of this reunion event because we have been very, very excited about it. And we'll talk about it on the next review episode that we do on Cinematic Reviews. But Malcolm in the Middle, fantastic show to watch with the whole family. It's one that I'm sure a lot of you guys have grown up with and just absolutely loved. It's currently streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu. So that's where I was able to watch it. Eventually, I want to own all 7 seasons in my own personal library. But right now, it is available on Hulu if you want to check out those. I love this. There's a lot of episodes that I remember watching as kids. There was a couple episodes that I totally forgot even existed. So it was fun to kind of rewatch it as a 32-year-old growing up in the early 2000s and just kind of reminiscing on a show that was on constantly in my family. I love the cast. Frankie Muniz is Malcolm. Bryan Cranston, who has been a huge icon in Hollywood, played Hal. Justin Burfield played Reese. Eric Persullivan played Dewey, but he unfortunately will not be coming back for the reunion episodes. He has separated himself from Hollywood, gone to school, and is getting educated, I believe, at Harvard, I think. Christopher Masterson played Francis in the show. He is coming back, also with his wife, Piama. Jane is coming back as Lois. It's fantastic. We'll see if Stevie or Abe show up, or maybe even if Greg Felspar shows up. That would be really cool to get some cameos from them. But I'm sure the main core will be there. The trailers and teasers that have been going on for this Life Still Unfair event hasn't really said much about Jamie, who is the youngest son of the family. So I'm wondering if they're kind of keeping that a secret, and maybe he'll pop up later as an adult. But we'll see what they end up doing with the Jamie character. But I absolutely love this show. I'm giving it 5 popcorn buckets for the popcorn rating. It's a fantastic show to watch with the entire family. It doesn't get old. You can just constantly watch it on repeat. Like I said, my family has watched this from season 1 all the way to season 7 multiple times over the past couple of decades. So it's a truly fantastic show, and I really do miss watching a new episode every week. So it's very exciting that even though it's a very small event, I think it's like 4 episodes of like 30 minutes apiece. It's at least something. We get to go back to our childhood and just kind of catch up with this crazy family that we grew up with and just see where they're at in life. And it seems like it's going to be a huge blast. More chaos, more arguing, more fighting, more pranks, but also a lot of love, a lot of family values that they tried to set in there. Lois was always depicted as like the very strict mother, but throughout the 7 seasons, you start to realize now as an adult as well, you're like, well, yeah, that's probably how I would have reacted too if my boys were just tornadoes going through the town. She cared about her kids. She cared about her family. She wanted them to be safe. She wanted them to be respectful, successful, and just have a great mindset in the world. And Hal is just the lovable dad that, was strict when he needed to be, but he was, just a family man. And it was just great to see the difference between, as a kid, you're probably like, oh my God, Lois and Hal are just, very strict and mean parents. But as an adult watching this, you're like, I probably would have did the exact same thing. And it's because Hal and Lois absolutely loves their boys. Even Francis, Francis was probably the biggest troublemaker next to Reese. And watching him grow up from season 1 to season 7 and realizing that Lois and Hal did what they did because they cared about them and they wanted them to succeed. And it's really cool to see that growth and evolution between each of the boys as they get older through the series. It's really, really well written, really well acted and casted, and just thought out altogether. It's a very incredible show, and I absolutely love it. And I can't wait for the event. So check out Malcolm in the Middle on Hulu right now. Watch all 7 seasons, and then get ready for the reunion event that'll be coming. That came out today on Hulu as well. So very awesome. The next project is a more recent one. I'm going to do this with a no spoiler because we will have a full-fledged episode dedicated to us. But that is the Super Mario Galaxy movie, which came out last week on April 1st. I absolutely love this movie. It's fantastic. Mario Galaxy is a game that my brother and I played a ton, next to probably Mario Sunshine. But it's so cool to get a really awesome sequel to the first movie that came out back in 23, which blew our minds. It was like we finally got an awesome Mario movie, and now we have a sequel to it. And I think the sequel is even better than the first movie, just slightly, with the characters that get introduced. Expanding this universe with Rosalina and Fox McCloud, who was teased on social media. I wish they would have kept him a secret. He's voiced by Glenn Powell, but that he was probably my favorite part in this movie was the Star Fox part of it. That's a game and character that I absolutely loved on Nintendo. Played him constantly on the Smash Brothers games, played all the Star Fox games. It was really cool to see him interact with Mario. Chris Pratt, of course, returns as Mario. Charlie Day returns as Luigi. Keegan-Michael Key as Toad. You have Jack Black as Bowser. Anya Taylor-Joy plays Peach once again. But you also have newcomers like Brie Larson as Rosalina. You have Donald Glover as Yoshi. Yoshi was fantastic too. They did a really great job with Yoshi. Very fun and lovable, like what you would have imagined. And they did such a fantastic job. Luis Guzman played Wart. And then, like I said, Glenn Powell played Fox McCloud, which was a perfect casting as well. He was terrific as Fox. I absolutely loved it. This is a great movie. Definitely one that you're going to want to see on the biggest screen possible. I didn't get a chance to see it on 3D like I did the first movie, but this would be a great one to watch on 3D too. Especially if you're a Mario fan, you got to go and watch this. It's really awesome. Great fun for the whole family. Absolutely love it. I'm giving it 5 popcorns, just like the first movie, but just slightly above it. I just really, really like the Super Mario Galaxy movie. So go ahead and check that out. Currently in theaters now. Eventually, with it being a Illumination movie, it'll be on Peacock eventually. But this is definitely one you're going to want to see with the whole family on the biggest screen possible. So check out Super Mario Galaxy today in theaters. Well, that's it for news and reactions today. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll get into our featured film, Avengers Endgame. This episode is brought to you by Dubby Energy. Still drinking energy that quits before you do? Stop crashing, stop shaking, and start performing. Meet Dubby Energy, clean energy made for gamers, creators, and anyone who refuses to slow down. With zero sugar, no jitters, and no crash, Dubby keeps you locked in whether you're grinding ranked, streaming for hours, or pushing through those late nights. There's no crash, no fade, just gas. Drink different, perform better. Grab Dubby Energy and use code Cinematic10 to get 10% off your order today.
If we do this, we'd be going in short-handed.
Yeah, you mean because he killed all our friends?
We owe this to everyone who's not in this room to try.
It's not about how much we lost. It's about how much we have left. We're the Avengers. We gotta finish this. You trust me? I do.
You could not live with your own failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me.
Avengers Endgame. This came out, let me pull up the date here, back in 2019. Wow, it's already been 7 years since Endgame. April 26, 2019, so we're coming up on the 7-year anniversary. It had a budget of roughly about 350 to 400 million. It's still kind of iffy on what the exact budget was because they pretty much filmed Infinity War and Endgame back to back. So roughly about 400 million we'll go with the budget for this film. It grossed a whopping $2.7 billion, one of the highest grossing movies of all time. I believe it's sitting at second on the all-time box office numbers. I think Avatar is right above it with the re-release. We'll see what happens when this gets re-released in September, I believe it is this year. Maybe it will get enough juice going to once again take the number one spot on the all-time box office records. But still, $2.7 billion is a massive, massive achievement, especially for a comic book movie. This was a massive event in 2019 when this came out. I mean, Infinity War was a massive event all its own, but with that cliffhanger and with them making us wait an entire year before we can get a conclusion to the events of Infinity War, it was fantastic. I mean, I watched this with my brothers and my dad. I've never seen my dad more excited about a movie in a while, probably since Force Awakens came out. But this was a movie for every type of, not just a Marvel fan, but just a comic book fan in general. It has everything in it. It's got the long-awaited and long-rumored Captain America wielding Mjolnir, that he is worthy. You have the epic conclusion to Iron Man's story back from all the way in 2008. You get this really broken down Thor, version of Thor where he must overcome his grief and his despair, and get redemption by defeating Thanos. You get this new version of Bruce Banner and the Hulk where he, like he says, he puts the brains and the bronze together and creates what the comic book world calls Professor Hulk. You get the tragic end to Black Widow in here as she sacrifices herself to bring everybody back by getting the Soul Stone with Hawkeye. It's just got a lot of things. You're going to cry, you're going to scream, you're going to have tears of sorrow, but also tears of joy, like the reunion between Tony and Peter Parker when he gets brought back. There's just so much stuff in here for everybody and every type of superhero fan. It's a fantastic movie. I do prefer Infinity War just slightly more in the rankings, and we'll get to that later on in the episode today. But that doesn't take anything away from Endgame. It's still an incredibly well-made movie. It's a bit of a long movie. It's about 3 hours, but it needed that 3 hours because there is a lot going on in here. They defeat the current version of Thanos, then they jump ahead 5 years and kind of catch up with everybody as they are, dealing with half of the universe being gone. Then Scott manages to get out of the quantum realm and comes up with this crazy idea of going back in time to save everybody because he can't live without hope. And that's where they have to recruit, Tony and Steve and Black Widow and just get everybody back together. And it's really cool as you watch this movie. You can easily see the 3 acts of this movie. So the first act, like I said, is where they are hunting down Thanos. They kill that current version of Thanos. Thor chops his head off with Stormbreaker. We jump ahead 5 years. Everybody is kind of dealing with the Thanos snap differently. That kind of caps off the first act. Then we get into the second act where they go back in time to gather up the Infinity Stones in different time periods, and then come back to form their own Infinity Gauntlet with the help of Rocket, Tony, and Bruce. That caps off the second act. And then we get to the third act where it's just this massive battle between Thanos and his forces at the Avengers compound. And everybody gets back after Hulk snaps his fingers and brings everybody back. And it's just this massive, massive war. So it's really cool to see the 3 different acts of this movie. And each act is about an hour long. So it's pretty, I don't know if they did that subconsciously or did it on purpose. But it was really cool to see that you can actually see the different chapters of this movie. And it's really, really cool how they did that. Looking at the cast here briefly, it's such a huge cast with this. So I tried to limit it to just the main ones that this one is focusing on, not anybody that got snapped or dusted or whatever you want to call it. So it's Tony Stark, aka Iron Man, played once again by, of course, Robert Downey Jr. This is his swan song as the Iron Man character, as he's played it for 11 years up to this point. And he gets his grand moment where he takes the stones and does his own snap to rid Thanos of his forces, but it ultimately kills him in the end. It's one of the most heartbreaking moments in not just Marvel history, but a comic book movie history. To see this character that we've grown and loved throughout these 11 years, and now he made the ultimate sacrifice, which they kind of teased in each of the Avengers movies, if you've heard me mention that before. So in the first Avengers movies where he takes the nuke up to the mothership, and it's kind of hinted that, he might not survive this, and he was willing to make that ultimate sacrifice to save the world. Age of Ultron, he has that vision of the Avengers dying, and he's the only one left, because he felt from that moment that he would have rather died with his friends, because it's even worse pain not dying with his friends. So then we get to Infinity War, where they really teased it, where he's going toe-to-toe with Thanos. Thanos stabs him in kind of the rib cage area with his own blade, and he's ready to die. He's on death row right there. But Doctor Strange begs Thanos to save him because Strange knows what happens in Endgame. He knows that Tony has to survive this moment so that he can sacrifice himself in a different moment. And that's really cool to see as you go through the different Avengers movies and see that it was all leading up to this. Tony was going to make the ultimate sacrifice in Endgame against Thanos to save everybody. And it was glorious. Robert Downey did a fantastic job with the snap and in the line delivery of "I am Iron Man." The last line in the first movie of the MCU is now the last line that Tony speaks. Truly fantastic job by Robert Downey Jr. this 11-year stretch. And now he's Doctor Doom. So we get a whole different version of Robert Downey in this MCU. And I'm very excited to see his version of Doctor Doom. Very, very awesome. Steve Rogers, a.k.a. Captain America, played once again by Chris Evans. Really awesome. I mean, the moment that he picks up Thor's hammer is one of the greatest moments in all of comic book movie history. Um, and it's what a lot of people theorize since Avengers of Ultron with that scene at the party where they're all trying to lift Thor's hammer, and he's the one that got it closest. He dragged it a little bit on the table. But we get the payoff for that, and that's really, really awesome. So he ends up wielding Mjolnir with his vibranium shield, and it's fantastic. It was a great um, character moment for him as he is worthy. He is like one of the purest souls in the universe to wield. I think there's another theory going around that Spider-Man is potentially worthy enough to wield Mjolnir. Um, I wonder if they'll ever explore that idea in the MCU. Um, but it's cool that we got the payoff with Captain America, and Chris Evans is really, really awesome. I love the suit in Endgame. It's probably my favorite Captain America suit that he wears in here. Really, really awesome. Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, played once again by Scarlett Johansson. Like I said, she pays the ultimate price too, like Tony does, where she sacrifices herself on Vormir to get the Soul Stone with Hawkeye. I love that little interaction where they're fighting each other on who's going to sacrifice themselves. You know, Hawkeye, of course, he doesn't have his family. He'd rather die than let his family stay dead. And he's done a lot of really dark shit, and we'll talk about him in a couple seconds here. But Scarlett Johansson she's my gal. She's my favorite actress working in Hollywood right now. Absolutely love her as Black Widow. She did a tremendous job in here, and her character arc is fantastic too, with being, that secret spy who only cared about herself to now essentially sacrificing herself to save the rest of the universe. Was a great character arc in here for her. She did a fantastic job. Mark Ruffalo plays Bruce Banner / the Hulk again. Like I said, he does the Frankensteining of bronze and brains to get this new version of the Hulk. Wasn't a big fan of his Hulk when this movie came out, but as I've watched this movie over and over again, I was like, it makes sense. He's trying to find his place in the world. He's trying to use what he considered a curse for the longest time as a benefit to him, and he was able to find the best of both worlds. And I'm warmed up to the idea now, but Mark Ruffalo is great as the Hulk for sure. Thor is played again by one and only Chris Hemsworth. Again, I wasn't the biggest fan of Fat Thor in here, but he's kind of growing on me. It makes sense. He went through this depression phase, blaming himself for all the death that has been around him. So, of course, he goes into a pit of sorrow for the next 5 years and just kind of lets himself go. Again, once we get into Thor, Love and Thunder and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, he gets back into shape, and he's the Thor that we all know and love. The Fat Thor thing was just kind of a gag for this movie, which I wasn't on board with it at the very beginning when this was coming out, but now it's kind of growing on me, like the Professor Hulk in here as well. But Chris Hemsworth is fantastic as Thor. I absolutely love him. Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye, played once again by Jeremy Renner. He's done some dark crap in the 5 years. He's killed a lot of people, pissed off a lot of people as well. So he's in this mindset of, I'm just going to kill myself so that my family can be brought back. And I'm sure anybody who was in that same situation would do the same thing. They would go on this rampage for 5 years because Thanos took the one good thing in his life, the most innocent people in the world, and snapped them away while these criminals got to live and rampage through this universe, and he's taking it upon himself. I love that line that he says, half the universe got Thanos, you got me. I think is how the line was, or I'm probably paraphrasing it, but Jeremy Renner is great as Hawkeye. I love the hairdo. I love the tattoos that he ends up getting because of this dark time in his life. But he was fantastic. I love him. Scott Lang, aka Ant-Man, played once again by the lovable Paul Rudd. He's the one that comes up with the idea of time traveling through the quantum realm. So he kind of educates people on what exactly is going on down there and how they can utilize it. Teams up with Tony, and they kind of brainstorm this whole time travel thing. And we'll talk about the time travel rules in here because it's very different than any other time travel movie out there. which really threw me through a loop. When I first saw this movie, I was like, holy crap, this is complicated. Pretty overly complicated from what we are used to in a time travel movie. But we'll talk about that too. It's one of the points I have in here during the review. Rocket, voiced again by Bradley Cooper, who I absolutely love. I love Rocket. He's one of my favorite characters in all of the MCU. And it's great to see that he is part of this main group of Avengers that are trying to get the rest of them back. So great job by Bradley Cooper once again. Nebula, played by Karen Gillan again. She kind of doesn't get a whole lot to do. I think the biggest moment she has is playing two versions of her, where we have the present version and then we have the 2014 version. Same thing with Thanos. So that's probably the biggest part that she gets in here. Otherwise, she's kind of just in the background side character, but still an important role as she infiltrates the Avengers, gets the Hank particle of the Pym particle to 2014 Thanos, that he can come to the future and destroy the Avengers' plans. So not a whole lot of screen time, but she has an important screen time. Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, who we talked about last episode, played again by Brie Larson. Again, she really doesn't get a whole lot to do because, I mean, she is one of the most powerful beings in the MCU at this point in time. So, I mean, you can't really... It's the same thing as the reason why they nerfed Hulk in Infinity War. It's not interesting to the story if you have a character that is just unstoppable by anybody. So she doesn't show up until the very end. But I mean, she even kind of struggles against Thanos as he gets his hands on the Infinity Stones. But again, she doesn't really get a whole lot to do. She did okay in here. I know I trashed her a lot in the Captain Marvel episode. I'm not a fan of Brie Larson. I think they could have did a better job with the character itself from a writing standpoint. But this is where we live in right now. And then last, but certainly not least, we have Thanos. Particularly 2014 Thanos, played by Josh Brolin. We do get the current version of Thanos a little bit at the beginning of the movie before he gets decapitated by Thor. Most of the movie, we are following the 2014 version of Thanos as he is trying to stop the Avengers from stopping him. Josh Brolin is fantastic as Thanos, one of the greatest movie villains ever. I love what Brolin did. I love the voice. I love the delivery of the dialogue. It's just really, really awesome job by Josh Brolin. We'll talk about him more on the villain scale, of course, later on in the rankings. But that just quick run through of the cast, the main cast. There's a bunch of other characters like Tom Holland, Benedict Cumberbatch. This was Chadwick Boseman's last role before his untimely death due to cancer. Elizabeth Olsen shows up. Gwyneth Paltrow shows up. Evangeline Lilly comes back as Hope. There's just every character that we've ever seen in the MCU pretty much comes back. Anthony Mackie, Sebastian Stan as Winter Soldier and the Falcon. Just so many names to run through, and we just don't have a whole lot of time to run through it on today's episode. But these are the main cast that we follow through the movie. Directed once again by Anthony and Joe Russo, who are now going to be returning with Avengers Doomsday, which I'm super excited about. They're great. They're my favorite directors in the MCU, other than probably Jon Favreau, maybe. I do love John Watts, who did the Spider-Man movies. He did a great job, too. James Gunn, of course, with the Guardians. But I think Anthony and Joe Russo are my favorite directors in the MCU. I mean, they gave us not just Infinity War and Endgame, but they gave us The Winter Soldier. They gave us Civil War. Fantastic job. And now they're returning for Secret Wars and Doomsday. So great job by them. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the time travel. Very different than what we're used to from other movies. You know, Back to the Future is probably the most popular time travel movie where you go back in time to, you know, make sure your parents fall in love and it changes the future. According to this, that's not the case. Because as the Hulk explains it, if you travel to the past, that is not your present. And the present that you were recently at is not your past. So you are now making a different future for yourself. So that really threw me through a loop when this movie came out, and I got so confused, and it was one of the reasons why I didn't like this as much as Infinity War. But now that I've rewatched it many times since it came out, and I've actually listened to what the Hulk and Nebula explain with the time travel, it does make sense. Because, yeah, if you travel back to 1955, for example, 2026 is now your past, and 1955 is now your present, which means 1956 is your future. And whatever you do going forward becomes this new branch of reality, or wherever it is, as the Tilda Swinton explains, that it branches off into a different reality. And that's what they're trying to prevent when the Hulk at the end of the movie says, hey, we have to take the stones back. We have to eliminate the branches of the timeline so that we can stay on this course of action and not create this multiverse. But the time travel aspect was very confusing to a lot of people, and rightfully so, because it's, like I said, it's something that us moviegoers weren't really exposed to. We were exposed to this general idea of time travel where you travel back in time, you fix something, and it improves your future. Which, yeah, in a way, it's kind of the same, but it doesn't work that way. Because I like that line, where is it from? I think it was Scott Lang, where he goes, so Back to the Future is a bunch of bullshit. And pretty much the Hulk says, yeah, it's those movies is not how time travel actually works. And when you listen to it more and more and more from the Hulk, it's like, yeah, that does make sense. So that was a big talking point when this movie came out, of how this was very different than other time travel movies, because it actually looks at the quantum mechanics to time traveling and the reality of what it actually means. They actually, it's in fun facts here, they actually talked to actual quantum physicists about this, and addressed the idea of time travel. And the writers, um, you know, did a lot of research and consulted a lot of experts to, confirm what actually happens when you do time travel, so that they can say somewhat accurate to the science behind it, which I do appreciate it when the writers and producers and directors actually do the research on the topic that they're covering in their movie to stay accurate. So, according to the quantum physicists that they talked to for this movie, that is actually how time travel works. It's not the Back to the Future hot tub time machine style of time travel. It's actually the Endgame style of time travel, I guess. So that's your science moment for today. Like I've already mentioned, the end of Tony Stark after 11 years, that is a huge moment in this movie. It's a huge staple in the MCU at this point, where this was an end of an era. It started with Robert Downey Jr. This Infinity Saga now ends with Robert Downey Jr. And it's such an incredible character arc to watch him in the last through the 11 years up to that point. And it's bravo to Robert Downey Jr. Should have been given an Oscar for his role as Iron Man. But the Academy does not like superhero movies, so they can go fuck themselves. You heard that right on Cinematic Reviews. But Robert Downey Jr. gets all the applause in the world for his portrayal of Iron Man. It's truly fantastic, especially that moment in here where he snaps his fingers and says, "I am Iron Man," and you watch him rest forever, and it's just truly heartbreaking. The theater was so quiet when that happened. When I watched this opening weekend, it was just a truly once in a lifetime experience to watch this moment in the theater with hundreds of other people and watch this character that we've grown and loved through the last decade die right in front of us. And Robert Downey Jr. did a fantastic job at portraying it. Truly, truly fantastic. This next point I wanted to talk about is actually in the form of a question. Who the hell is Noob Master 69? So this has been a question that has been burning in my brain since this movie. If you don't remember, Noob Master 69 was the gamer tag on Fortnite that Thor and the boys were playing on New Asgard when Rocket and Hulk show up. And you see Thor grab the headset and talk some shit to New Master 69, who they made it sound like a kid. They haven't quite confirmed if it was a kid. Now, I know a lot of people have theorized that this was probably Daredevil. I mean, not Daredevil, Deadpool. I think Anthony Joe Russo actually posted on social media at some point that this was actually Wong, which would be very interesting if that was true. I like to think that it's Deadpool because it sounds like something Deadpool would do would be to troll Thor on Fortnite. I hope we get kind of a reference back to New Master 69 in a project somewhere, unless I missed it through one of the Disney Plus shows. But that is a question in my head that has been burning in my brain since this movie came out, is who the hell is New Master 69? Go ahead and jump in the comments on the video, on the review episode today, if you know for sure that it was Wong, or if you have a guess yourself on who New Master 69 is. I like to think it's Deadpool. It would be hilarious if it was like Doctor Strange, or it'd be cool if it was like Peter Parker. But I don't think Pete's got time to play Fortnite. But it'd be hilarious too if it was Wong. I mean, he's the Supreme Sorcerer. He's got time to lay back and school some people on Fortnite. But I think Deadpool would be awesome as New Master 69 if they like came back in like Deadpool 4 or Doomsday, if he does pop up in Doomsday and it's like, hey, I'm New Master 69. That'd be pretty sweet. But yeah, feel free to jump in the comments if you have an idea of who New Master 69 is, or if you can confirm that it was Wong indeed. I'm curious to see what you guys think. And then lastly, before we get into the categories today, I wanted to bring up this idea that's been floating around since this movie came out. And it's an idea that I really, really hoped Disney would have done by now, but I think they still can, with Chris Evans coming back as Doomsday and potentially Secret Wars. I think they could do a show like this, and that is a 6-episode show watching Steve bring each stone back to its right timeline. So you have 6 episodes, 1 episode per stone, pretty easy setup, and then we get to just watch him travel through the quantum realm to return these 6 stones. I think that would be awesome. And it doesn't need to be a long show. It could be just a 30 to 40 minute episode on how he returns each stone back. And I think that'd be really, really awesome. And you can end with him going up to Peggy Carter's doorstep and living his life there. But yeah, I think that would be a terrific Disney Plus show that we haven't gotten yet. And it's staring Disney right in the face to do it. I really like that idea. So I hope they eventually do it. All right, let's move on to the categories today. Iconic scenes. Again, as a reminder, these are scenes that pop up in your head when you hear the title Avengers Endgame. I had to really limit this so that we don't spend an hour talking about every scene in the movie. I got about 6 of them here. So the first one, Hulk testing the quantum tunnel on Scott, where as Tony says, instead of pushing Scott through time, you're pushing time through Scott, where we get, like teenage Scott, you get old man Scott, you get baby Scott, and then eventually he gets back to his normal self. Really fun scene. You get the Hulk controlling it. You've got Steve watching, as well as Black Widow. It's and I love that line when he comes back where he goes, I think I peed my pants. I don't know if it was old me or baby me or me. But it's a really funny couple minute scene where they are pushing time through Scott. It's really great. Next one is Cap versus Cap. When they go back in time to the 2012 Battle of New York scene, we get the 2012 version of Cap going up against the current version of Cap. Really, really awesome. We get one of the most favorite lines from this movie, that is America's ass, as Captain America looks at his own ass as he's been punched unconscious. But that's a great moment where you get the two Captain Americas fighting each other. They're throwing the shields at each other, throwing punches. Really fun scene. The next one is, of course, Black Widow's death. Same thing with Gamora in the Infinity War episode. That was one of the iconic scenes. Pretty much shot for shot. The same as Gamora's, except we get, instead of Thanos just launching Gamora off the cliff, we get Hawkeye and and Scarlett Johansson fighting each other on who is going to jump off the cliff to their death. Ultimately, Black Widow outdoes Hawkeye and tosses herself off the cliff, and she dies, and she lands exactly how Gamora did. And if you look very closely, you can see the blood stain still there from Gamora. So very depressing scene, but very iconic when you hear the title Endgame. The next one is Hulk Snap. I love this one where they're putting the gauntlet together. They're fighting over who's gonna do it. Thor's like, hey, I'm a god. I'm a god of thunder. I can wield this. I can survive it. But then Hulk's like, yeah, but that's not what this is. This is like all gamma radiation. I was literally made for this moment. Like, he is mostly made of gamma. These Infinity Stones are like all gamma radiation. He is the one that can take this, and he does. He fucks up his arm pretty good, but he survives it. Now, granted, maybe Thor could have survived this. It's hard to tell because we haven't seen it, but it makes sense from what Hulk is explaining. Like I am made of the same stuff as the stones, so of course I probably have the best chance to survive. And it's a really awesome moment where he's putting the gauntlet on. You're like, okay, the thing is morphing around his arm. Is really cool special effects, and he starts to activate it, and he's yelling in pain because it's so gruesome, and he's slowly picking his arm up and he's snapping it, and it's really, really cool. The gauntlet falls off his hands. He is like in agonizing pain. Tony comes over and sprays it with this magic spray to alleviate the pain, but it's such an awesome moment. We'll talk about the Hulk snap again in another category here. You can probably guess what that's going to be. Moving on. The next iconic scene, it's got to be Cap wielding the hammer. Mjolnir, to be exact. It's one of the most get hype moments in the movie. Is one of the scenes that you're going to think of when you hear Avengers Endgame is the hammer floating past Thanos, Captain America grabbing it. You're hearing Thor go, I knew it. And he's throwing the hammer. He's bouncing the hammer off of his shield. The choreography was fantastic with him. It's definitely one of the most iconic scenes in the movie. And then lastly, certainly not least, it's Tony's sacrifice. It's Tony snapping his finger to eliminate Thanos forever. It's the scene that is just branded into my brain when I hear Avengers Endgame. And this is the most iconic scene to me. Is you get the shot of Thanos where he's like, I am inevitable. He snaps, nothing happens. He looks at the gauntlet, the stones are gone. And then the camera pans to Tony, and you can see the stones slowly go up his hand. And then he says, I am Iron Man, as he's fighting through that pain. And then he snaps his fingers. And it's just an incredible moment. That's the best way I can put it. It's just an incredible, incredible moment. It's so iconic. And that is the most iconic scene to me, is the Tony's sacrifice with the snap. It's just truly heartbreaking, but it was so earned, and it's just done and executed so well by everybody. Just an incredible moment. So iconic scene for sure is Tony's sacrifice. But again, feel free to pop into the comments below and let us know what your iconic scene is for Avengers Endgame. Maybe it's the same as me with Tony's sacrifice. Maybe you're in, Cap wielding Mjolnir camp. I'm curious to see what you guys think. So go ahead and pop in the comments below with your most iconic scene. Next category is one of the newer ones we've had the last couple episodes, and that is the let's fucking go moments of Avengers Endgame. You can probably guess which three that I have here. Avengers activating the quantum tunnel. I've audibly said let's fucking go when they're all gathered around the time machine and they're all activating the helmets in the quantum suits. I audibly said let's fucking go when Tony's helmet came over his head. Truly get hype moment for sure. The next one is Hulk snapping. As soon as he's he's putting the glove on and he's in pain. I was like, let's fucking go, Hulk. Let's bring everybody back. Um, truly, really get hype moment for sure. And then lastly, it's Cap wielding Milner. When he catches that hammer and the music's playing, and he's like, come get some, Thanos. You want to yell at the TV, let's fucking go. And that is the let's fucking go moment of the movie, is Cap finally wielding Milner with the bullet. That's the one. Favorite quotes. I'm going to rip through these ones. Again, I had to like really shrink these ones because there's a lot of great lines in here. But the most, iconic ones for sure are, I love you 3000, as Tony says that to his daughter Morgan. Fun fact on that one, Tony's daughters on set actually called him that one time. And Anthony and Joe Russo really loved it, so they wrote it into the movie. Another one from Tony, I am Iron Man, as he snaps. That was the last line he said at the end of the first Iron Man movie, so I'll call back to that. Steve Rogers, that is America's ass. And then also from Steve, Avengers, assemble. We finally get him to say the whole line after getting teased in a couple of movies. I said this one already, but this one from Scott Lang. So Back to the Future is a bunch of bullshit. I always laugh at that one just because of his reaction. And he's such a huge movie nerd like me. Another one from Steve Rogers, whatever it takes. That's kind of their motto as Avengers when they go back in time, whatever it takes to bring everybody back. A couple of them from Thor here. I went for the head. Let's kill him properly this time. Really like those ones. And then this interaction here between Tony and Thanos is really good. You could not live with your own failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me. I thought by eliminating half a life, the other half would thrive, but you have shown me that's impossible. And as long as there are those that remember what was, there will always be those that are unable to accept what can be. They will resist. And that's when Robert Downey pops in. Yep, we're all cause of stubborn. And then Thanos goes, I'm thankful because now I know what I must do. I will shred this universe down to its last atom. And then with the stones you've collected for me, create a new one. Teeming with life that knows what, not know what it has lost, but only what has been given. A grateful universe. And then that's when Steve Rogers buds in, born out of blood. And then Thanos responds, they'll never know it because you won't be alive to tell them. And then that's when they fight. It's a really dark and villainous monologue here to the big three of the Avengers: Thor, Iron Man, and Cap. Really great line delivery by Josh Brolin, and it's just the words are just so villainous and just a big fuck you to the Avengers for messing with his plan and not understanding his reasoning behind it. And then to wrap things up here with some fun facts. Robert Downey Jr. was the only actor who read the entire script. That's because they trusted him not to spoil it. Looking at you, Tom Holland and Benedict Cumberbatch. But yes, he was the only one that read the entire script. Everyone else got pieces of it so that nothing was spoiled. The opening Hawkeye scene was originally conceived as part of the finale of Avengers Infinity War. However, because Hawkeye had not been featured throughout that film, the Russo brothers moved the scene to the beginning of this movie. I really like that. Keep Hawkeye a little bit separated in Infinity War so that we can appreciate him more in Endgame. I think I like that decision more. The somber ending to Infinity War was going to be this film's beginning. Had that been the case, Infinity War would have ended with Thanos completing the Infinity Gauntlet before actually using it in this movie. However, the creative teams working on the two films decided that it would be best suited the story to have the actual cliffhanger follow the finger snap itself and to show its fallout before, making viewers wait a year to see how the story would be resolved. I think that was the better choice. Seeing that cliffhanger in theaters was mind-blowing. Like, my sister and I just sat there in awe as we watched Spider-Man get dusted. And we're just like, what the hell just happened? Like, the Avengers actually lost right in front of us. And now we have to wait an entire year to see how they bounce back. It was a really great idea. I'm glad they went with that idea instead of the original idea. Avengers Endgame and its predecessor Infinity War were filmed entirely on digital IMAX cameras, making them the first Hollywood film shot entirely on IMAX cameras in an exclusive open matte aspect ratio. Unfortunately, standard theaters and all home video releases of the film are cropped to regular letterbox aspect ratio. But on November of 2021, almost 2 years after the film finished its theatrical run, Disney re-released it in the original IMAX format on Disney Plus, along with 12 other MCU films. You probably saw that back in 2021, where they released a bunch of new versions of the MCU movies on Disney Plus, and it had like that tagline of like IMAX Dolby Atmos. I think it was like Shang-Chi. I think Doctor Strange maybe had it. The Avengers movies, of course, and a few other ones. But that was a really cool fact there. I wanted to, all you IMAX nerds out there, for you. They did talk to actual quantum physics, like I said before, when addressing the idea of time travel. The writers started with Google, but Christopher Marcus also revealed that they consulted actual experts on quantum mechanics and time travel, who confirmed that said, if it could happen, that's one of the ways it could happen. Also, the sequence of the Avengers figuring out their time travel routes is pretty much a reaction of what it was like for the writers. It was cool how they separated the teams up. It made a lot of sense with who they paired up with. Similar to Infinity War, it made a lot of sense on the separate groups that they paired together. And then lastly, all of the Quantum Realm suits worn in Endgame are VFX creations, because the film's production had to start before the costume design team could finalize what the suits would actually look like. So those are actually CGI'd, which I'm fine with. They looked really good, CGI'd. Obviously, the helmets were going to have to be CGI'd because of the way they pop in and out, just like Ant-Man's helmet. But I'm totally fine that they were created with special effects. So that's Avengers Endgame. Absolutely love it. If you haven't seen it in a while, go ahead and watch it. I love watching Infinity War and then watching Endgame right afterwards. Of course, we didn't do it for the podcast because we're going in theatrical order, and we wanted to create that big break similar to what we had to experience in that year that these two came out. But still, absolutely love this movie. It's fantastic. One of the best Marvel movies, one of the best comic book movies ever made. Love the cast, love the writing, love the execution, love the music, the special effects, everything. It's just fantastic cinema for sure. It's just a superhero fan's dream, is Infinity War and Endgame. It's just truly fantastic. This was the ultimate peak of the MCU. After this, I don't think they're going to reach this height ever again. The build up that it took from Iron Man 1 all the way up to Endgame to cap off this Infinity Saga, I don't think this will ever be replicated as well as it did. I know, we're going into the multiverse saga, which is a huge freaking mess right now. We're going to see how they kind of wrap things up with Doomsday and Secret Wars, but I don't think Doomsday and Secret Wars is going to be able to hit the height that was Infinity War and Endgame. Maybe it'll get close. We'll see what Robert Downey Jr. does with the Doctor Doom character. But a lot of this is credit to Josh Brolin's Thanos. He did a fantastic job with it. So this is like peak Marvel, and I don't think we're ever going to get to this point. So it's truly one of a kind. Absolutely love it. All right, so let's wrap things up like we always do with the rankings of Avengers Endgame. All right, for the rankings, like always, we'll go through the MCU ranking, then we'll go through the villain scale, and then we'll wrap it up with the popcorn rating. So the MCU ranking, Avengers Endgame comes in at number 4 on the list. So I'll run through this here. Number 5 was Spider-Man Homecoming. Number 3, Avengers Infinity War. 2, Spider-Man No Way Home. And then number 1 is Deadpool Wolverine as of right now. Like I said, I like Infinity War just slightly more than Endgame. But But these two have to be, in my opinion, paired together in the rankings. They're so well done. Um, they are the ultimate double feature. I always watch. You can't watch Infinity War and then not watch Endgame. You cannot watch Endgame without watching Infinity War first. It's just truly fantastic, and they're always going to be in the top here. Like I said, we'll see what Doomsday and Secret Wars brings. We'll see how I feel about Spider-Man Brand New Day, because that is a Spider-Man movie. So that's going to be high on my list just because of bias reasons. Um, but we'll see how these next couple projects go up against Infinity War and Endgame. But like I said, this was peak Marvel in 2018 and 2019, and I don't think we'll reach that point ever again. But it's still, number 4 is fantastic. It's a great spot. I think that is the perfect spot for Avengers Endgame. Now, I know a lot of people probably have it as their favorite. They're totally entitled to it. But I do like Infinity War just slightly better, or slightly more than Endgame. The cliffhanger, the Tony and Peter Parker interactions, the battle on Wakanda was awesome. I really like Infinity War, just slightly more than Endgame, but Endgame is just fantastic. So Avengers Endgame comes in at number 4 on the MCU ranking list. Villain scale. It's 5 Thanos heads because it is Thanos. Now, I prefer the Thanos in Infinity War, of course, but this 2014 Thanos is still really good. Josh Brolin kills it. So we'll talk about the motivation, of course, the costume, and the performance by the actor. So Josh Brolin, like I keep saying, fantastic job. Of course, it's a CGI character, so you're really going off of his voice. But he did similar things like he did in Infinity War, where he was on set interacting with the cast. So it is him there. But his voice is just so distinct and so incredibly casted for Thanos. I can't see anybody else playing Thanos other than Brolin. He did such a fantastic job. He has such a unique voice and a really good job at delivering lines and dialogue and monologues for sure. It's haunting when you hear the Thanos voice. It's so good. Motivation, similar to Infinity War. It's what a villain is. He truly believes that he's doing the right thing, and he's willing to kill half the universe to prove it. It's the same as Loki. Loki is just how he's made. He truly believes that causing mischief is just who he is. Same thing with Thanos. He's just doing what he thinks is right. It's who he is. And he truly believes this, and he's willing to kill whoever it takes. So the motivation was well written for sure. And then the costume. Costume's great. I love the armor. He doesn't really wear the armor in the first movie. So this one in the 2014 version, he's wearing it. He's got the giant ass double sword. He's got the helmet. He's got the really cool armor. I really like the costume design in him in here. So 5 Thanos heads for 2014 Thanos in Avengers Endgame. And then the popcorn rating. You can probably guess it. It's the golden popcorn. It's a top 5 Marvel movie. It's number 4 on the list. The only correct rating is the golden popcorn. Give it the highest tier. It deserves it. It is what it is. So Avengers Endgame, check it out today. If you haven't seen it in a while, definitely watch Infinity War with it, because it's tough to watch Endgame without knowing what happened before. It is currently streaming on Disney Plus, but I own it. I own all the Marvel movies, so I usually watch it on my own library. But go ahead and watch it on Disney Plus today. It's a fantastic movie. I'm so glad we get to rewatch it for the podcast. The Infinity War versus Endgame episode was one of the first ones that I did on the podcast. So it's really cool after 4 years to come back to where we began on the podcast and really break it down with the new template that I've been doing for the show. But it's truly a fantastic time doing this Marvel marathon. I strictly wanted to do this marathon so that I could watch Endgame and Infinity War again and talk about it in more depth with this new setup that I've been doing for the show. So I'm really glad that we're doing this Marvel marathon. Now we're going to get into kind of the really messy hodgepodge crap in the multiverse saga. But I'm really excited to rewatch a lot of those Disney Plus shows that I just didn't really give a shit about when they came out. And I'm really curious to see what my thoughts are on those shows like Agatha All Along and She-Hulk and The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'm really curious to see how I feel about them now, all these years later since they've been out. So still, like I said, this is peak Marvel, but I'm still super excited about the rest of the Marvel marathon that we're going to do on the show in preparation for Doomsday. It's going to be an exciting second half as we blaze through this multiverse saga for sure. So next week we'll cap off Phase 3 with Spider-Man Far From Home. Super excited about that. We get to see Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio villain going up against Tom Holland's Peter Parker. Then also we'll finally do the Super Mario Galaxy movie review. We'll deep dive into that one and we'll break it all down. And then we'll get into the different events that we have planned as well. The Michael Jackson movie's coming out in a few weeks, so we'll do an episode of Michael as well. Then we have the Star Wars Mandalorian Grogu movie. There's a lot of new releases coming out starting in May. So there'll be a mixture of events and new releases and Marvel Marathon. It's going to be a lot of stuff on the show. I'm super excited about all the content coming at you. So reminder, check the show every week, youtube.com/thecinemacviews. Also listen to it on your favorite podcast service for the audio version. Check out the social media pages. I will post when the app is launched on Sunday, April 12th. That is when the app will be available on your device app store. So I will post on there. So keep an eye out on that. Super excited about the app. I've been working really hard to get this thing up and running. And I can't wait for you guys to play around with it and see what it's all about. So with that, enjoy your weekend, and we will see you all next time on Cinematic Reviews.